So without further ado, let's please give a very loud, warm African welcome to Ed Sheeran.
Hello.
I heard you have a show tonight.
Yeah.
Wow. A bit bigger than this. A few more people.
Yeah. How's everyone doing? Everyone good? Yeah. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
I think firstly, I just want to say I can't believe you offered to do this. So I really want to say. That wasn't planned. Not really. So just to give you some context so you don't think it's all craziness, these guys are what we call gumboot dancers. I think in England they're Wellington boots. Yeah? So this was based on traditional dance that was done in the mines. South Africa has a history with mining, and so this is a traditional dance, and these guys are from the local community. So we thought we'd show you a bit of local culture.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Really nice.
Right, so I was saying I can't believe you're here. I still can't believe you're here. And we really, really appreciate your time. I know you're on shows tonight, shows tomorrow night. You've come from Joburg shows. So to have come to this school and project that we've all been working to make a positive change to, sort of developing communities in our country, it means a lot to us. So I really want to thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. It's such from what I've seen, it looks really wonderful. You guys are doing some cool stuff.
We're getting there. We're getting there. So I just wanted to, somebody said to me earlier that sometimes you don't sleep before shows. You didn't sleep before Glastonbury and before Wembley. And is that true? And I was just wondering if it is, if you did you sleep last night?
No, I slept last night. I kind of, Glastonbury and Wembley were the two biggest things that I'd done. So I didn't really sleep before them. But and ever since then, it's kind of just got a little bit easier. Yeah.
Is that from nerves? Or was it from nerves?
I think so, yeah. But I think, before Wembley, I'd never played a stadium before. And I think once you do it enough times, you start kind of adjusting to it, I think.
So I saw you play on the Global Citizen. Was that your first time to South Africa?
Yeah, okay. Very first time. I know it took me a while to get down here, so thank you for everyone being patient.
I know it's always a horrible question when you parachute into a country and parachute out, but what's your take on what you've seen and experienced? Because you've been here almost a week now, you've been here before. Have you managed to absorb any of the culture? Do you have an opinion on what you see?
I mean, the food here is another level. Like
it's a good start.
Another level.
It's a good start.
It's amazing. When I was here for the Global Citizen, more so for that than this time, I was exposed to a bit more of South African music because there were so many people on the bill that were from South Africa. But yeah, I mean, it's an amazing. My parents are here on holiday. They came for my mum's birthday, and they said it's been their favourite holiday they've ever been on as well. They loved all the safaris and meeting everyone, and just the culture here is just, yeah, people are very friendly.
That's a good thing. What we normally do in these workshops is, talk about your career and how you got there. There's a lot of artists in the room, producers, people in the industry. We're a developing industry, so we're always trying to extract knowledge and information. So I'm keen to know more about, how you got into music, and especially, in light of us being in a school, how being at school influenced you. I know you were ripped off about being a redhead, and whether that was bordering on bullying or not, I don't know. I'm interested to know, but how you found music, and what were the triggers to get you started?
Well, I think probably like any kid, I'd just hit things when I was, you'd have like a little drum or something like that. I guess that's how I first started being sort of musical. But it was more so I wasn't good at anything at all. Like I wasn't good at maths or English or science. I was always like less than average. Couldn't really play sport. But I really enjoyed playing music, and I was never like great at music, but I just really enjoyed it, and I didn't enjoy anything else. So I was like, if I might as well do something I enjoy, even if I'm not good at it. And then because I enjoyed it, I practiced more. I wouldn't go out. I'd stay in my room and practice guitar, and then I got better and better and better at it. And then, I didn't really think it could be a job, because it's, you're kind of taught as a kid that you shouldn't really enjoy jobs. Jobs should just be like a chore. You should get up in the morning, you should go to work, and it should be a thing that you should. So I just always was like, I'll get a job and then I'll play music on the side. And then I remember when I was 15 years old doing a gig and getting paid £20, which, I had a Saturday job.
That's a lot in rands.
Yeah. So, but I would do a Saturday job cleaning in a pub, and I would make like £15. And I was like, I played a show and got paid 20, and I enjoyed it. And it was just me singing songs. So it was from then I was like, I can make a living out of this, even if, it's like, it's not a great living, I can still get by just playing music. So from then I kind of lost interest in school and just focused on music.
I read a quote that you said that in this day and age, it's a great time for kids to be a bit weird.
Yeah, well, I think if you look at all the biggest musicians ever, they're all odd. They're all weird looking. They're all weird personalities. They're all quirky people. And I don't think anyone in the world has ever succeeded fitting in. I think you always have to go against the grain.
So you discovered music when you were still at school, and then you left home. I think it was 16 or 17, and you went on the road for 3 years, just couch surfing and traveling. And tell us about that experience and how that shaped what was to become your musical career.
Well, I was a bit green, I guess, because I grew up in England. The countryside is like, there was like 1,000 people in my town, kind of thing, like really, really small, and it's farming. And I'd never really been to London. London was always quite scary. You'd kind of thought in your mind, you go to London, you'll get robbed. And so like it was my first experience. I moved to London on my own. I lived above a pub with this other musician girl who was really cool, who let me stay at her place. And then I lived there for about 6 months, I think. And because I had nothing to do really, I just gigged every single day, like 2 or 3 times a day. I'd just go and play. I'd go and busk. I'd go and just find things to do. And being 17 in London on your own is actually quite a fun experience, because you're seeing things all for the first time. There was some scary times, but also some times where you just learn. And then I moved out of that place and then started sofa surfing. So I ended up actually being all over the country, not just London, and playing different shows. And every single show I did, I'd play some shows that no one would turn up to. I'd play some shows that were just comedy nights where you'd be in between 2 people telling jokes. And I played like jazz nights and soul nights. And what else? I remember doing a fashion show once. That was really weird, just standing up in the middle of the So I just played anywhere that would take me, basically. And through that, my performance started getting better, because I was playing to so many different audiences that I could adapt to any situation. You could put me in front of any crowd, and I could manage to read the audience. And throughout this time, I was always trying to get signed by a record label, because in music, you think, right, record label, I need to get signed. Being signed is when you make it. And all my friends were getting signed, and they were all signing to these major labels, and I was like, I need to get signed, and no one wanted to sign me. Every single label turned me down time and time and time and time again, and I was holding on to all these songs that I had, and I was like, all these songs are for my debut album. I'm going to sign a record deal. I'm going to put them on the debut album, and no one wanted to sign me. And time again, it would just be disappointment after disappointment, until one day I was just like, do you know what? Why am I waiting? Why am I waiting? There's websites you can go on, you can pay a few dollars, and you can get your stuff on iTunes and Spotify, and you can just upload it. So I just did that. And then when I did that, traction started to happen. I started playing headline shows where people would pay to come and see me, not just I was going to do an open mic night. And then so they would go from like 50 capacity to 100 capacity to 200 capacity. And then I started touring England as a headline act, and then a record label came to me and said, we want to sign you, and then it kind of went up from there. So anyone who thinks that signing to a record label is the way to go, you need to make them, it's the best thing, because then you hold all the cards. Like, I know so many people that have signed to record labels, and then the record label doesn't know what to do with them, so they just kind of keep them for a bit, and then the buzz is gone, and then it's away. So if you build up your own buzz and then wait for a label to swoop in and take you to the next place, or just do it yourself. I mean, like, you don't really need them nowadays. You can upload directly to Spotify now. It's good.
So you got quite into the whole DIY thing. That's something you focused on, just getting it done yourself in the beginning.
Well, only because no one wanted to help. So yeah, it was DIY, but. I think had there been another option, I probably would have taken it, but there was no option other than to do that, and I think it was the best thing for me, because also then when I started having success, I controlled everything, because it was my success that I built up, and I got to choose the songs and the videos and where I toured and who I toured with, and it was a good thing to do, I think.
I'm curious about your interest in hip hop.
Yeah.
Because obviously your music is not necessarily hip-hop related, but the collaborations EP you put out with Wiley and all the grime artists, what inspired you to sort of make that shift at that time? Because that was one of the things that obviously got you to the next level.
Yeah, well, I listened to hip-hop from a very, very young age, and grime music was very prevalent throughout my whole high school. And I was listening to all those, I had albums of Wiley and JME and Skepta and Dizzy Rascal and all these people. And then when I moved to London, I started meeting them. And, some of the nights that I was playing, they were playing on as well. So I always had an idea to make a collaborations project, and I just put it together bit by bit. I'd go to them with a song and be like, can you feature on this? And at the time, I was kind of a no one. So a lot of them took a chance, and thankfully it paid off.
I want to talk about I read that you did a show. You had a show in Camden, but that so many people turned up for it just after that release that you played the show 4 times so you could let everybody through. Is that true?
Yeah. Well, it was. I just signed to my record label, and I said, it's been like 4 years of hard work. I'm going to put on a free show for people, and I wanted to book this 1,000 capacity venue, and everyone said, no, you can't do that, you'll never get. It was a Saturday as well. It was a Saturday in school holiday. I was like, 1,000 kids will turn up, I promise you. If you put on a free concert, they will turn up. They're like, no, it won't happen. You have to book this small venue that fits like a couple hundred people. So we did that, and then 1,000 kids turned up. And obviously when you say I'm putting on a free gig and they all turned up and all queued, I'm not going to be like 200 of you can come in and 800 can fuck off. So I basically did the gig, got 200 more in, did the gig, 200 more in, did the gig, and then they closed the venue, so then I had to do a gig outside on the street afterwards, basically. Yeah. It was fun.
I love that story because I think it gives an example of your personality and persona, and it being about the music, and about the love of the music and the audience and the connection. And I think that's a very admirable thing in terms in the modern day and age where there's often that distance.
Sometimes quite easy to forget that though, because we tour worldwide and every single venue now is a stadium, and I only kind of get back to those times every now and then. I'll just go and pop up and do a show, and it really, in like a little club, and it really makes you remember that it isn't about standing in front of 90,000 people. It's about playing with. It's about your audience and you are one rather than being separated. And it does does take some reminding sometimes.
So you played Jamie Foxx's club as well at one point.
Yeah,
Again,
yeah.
I bring that up because that's more of a sort of urban venue as well. Has there been, are you drawn to sort of urban hip hop culture? You
No,
said
do you
earlier
know-
you listen to it.
I mean, yeah, I love the culture. I love the culture. But in terms of like, for me, as a white male singer-songwriter in London, you know, it was at a time where like David Gray and James Blunt and Damien Rice and James Morrison and all these white singer-songwriters coming out, everyone had a guitar. Everyone was doing open mic nights. I was just one in 2,000 in London every single night playing at open mic nights. And I remember being at these open mic nights and being like, I'm so much worse than these people. These people are so much better than me. Like, how do I fit in here? And this goes back to the point of being weird and trying not to fit in. I started thinking, well, I should start playing places where I'll really stand out then. And so that's why I started picking hip-hop nights and comedy nights and jazz nights and soul nights, because, you know, I would be this kind of like messy ginger hair with a tiny guitar, white boy, singing these songs, these love songs, and having to win over a crowd that just it wasn't really their kind of music. And I think that's what made me stand out more, is basically putting myself in situations that other people would probably find uncomfortable musically.
I mean, you make your journey sound really easy, but from what I gather, from what you're saying, what I've read, is there's a lot of strategy in what you do. You really think about what you do. It doesn't just happen. Would I be right in saying that?
Certainly now, yeah, certainly now. But back then, like, as I said, I was just doing everything I could, like everything. I was like turning up anywhere. Wherever anyone would have me play, I would turn up and play. And I don't think there's much strategy in that other than just like, I don't know, throwing loads of darts at a dartboard and seeing which one goes.
Well, something hit bullseye, that's for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Tell me about the live show. So I want to talk about just for the musicians in the audience, the songwriting process and then how that transfers into live shows. So let's start with the songwriting process. You know, obviously you write on a guitar. What software do you use? What are your sort of tools of choice in the studio?
See, one of my biggest regrets in life was never learning how to engineer myself. And I think, like, if anyone here doesn't know how to, please learn, because it's like now I write songs just with a guitar in my kitchen or whatever, and I'll have like a recording device, whether it be on like an iPad or a laptop or whatever. But I think the ability to be able to engineer yourself. I worked with Travis Scott the other day, and we were in the studio, and he has a mic in front of him and a computer, and records himself and then edits himself, all himself, so he knows exactly what he wants and he can do it quickly. I remember watching him just being like, oh, I wish I'd learned that. So yeah, in terms of that, I mean, I have an engineer in London that I employ, but I think it's much better if you can be your own engineer, basically.
So talking about being sort of self-sufficient, you're self-sufficient on stage.
Yeah.
I know you do some shows with the band, many TV stuff. And I read somewhere that you're a bit paranoid, might be the wrong word, about being on stage with a band. Is that true? What are your reasons for doing everything on your own?
I never played with a band, ever. I mean, I've done the occasional TV show with a band, but that's more because the TV show didn't trust that I could do it solo, if I'm honest. But yeah, I kind of, you know, when I left home, I had this thing called a loop station, which is basically, if anyone's seen me play before, you plug in your guitar and you can record little loops. So you essentially make a song on stage. So I had that from an early age, and I was always gigging with that. Never had a band, and then when I got signed and started selling out bigger venues, I was like, I should probably get a band. But then there was no time to rehearse. The gig was just there, and I was like, oh, I'll just do it. And then, you know, we played like a little 500 capacity club, and then it was like 1,000, and then it was 5,000, and then it was an arena, and then it was Wembley, and then it's kind of like there's no point at that. If you can hold people at that level, then there's no point.
You don't need anybody else.
I do think this is my last tour with a pedal, though. I think it's time to introduce some sort of band. Still loop, but have songs with band and songs without band. And I think I've reached the glass ceiling now.
Evolve the sound.
Yeah.
Live. When you come off stage, what are the triggers that make you feel like you had a great show?
I don't know really. It's you know, Joburg the other night, the second night, because Sundays are usually the worst gig, because Sundays are the day that people are like, oh, we're going back to work tomorrow, and we're like, yay. Like Saturday's usually the one, but Sunday for some reason was just electric. And I think it's when you're on stage, and I sometimes get quite tired towards the end of the gig, but when it kind of comes to the end of the gig and you're like still wanting to do more, you're still like, oh, I could go back. I think that's when you know it's a good gig. And also when you get back and it's like a buzz. It's kind of like a drug, I guess. It's kind of like a big endorphin release at the end of a show. And I think when it's gone really well, you're just kind of there buzzing, and it takes a while to come down.
I guess there's a lot of pressure, you're the only person on stage, there's no one to turn to, and it's just you and this audience. It must be quite a lot of, do you feel that pressure, or do you feel quite comfortable with it?
People say that to me a lot, but I don't know any different. Like every single show I've ever played has been just me, so I don't really know any different, really.
How do you keep grounded? Everyone talks about your meteoric rise, and if you actually unpack it's taken some time, but it's been quite phenomenal how it sort of got to a point, and then just this snowball effect just seemed to happen really fast. How do you you seem like a very grounded, honest, down to earth individual. Like how do you keep that space, or is it all a facade?
You know what? I've had my moments. I still do have my moments. It's a very weird foreign place to be. As I said, like the town I grew up in, it's like it's not like growing up in London where people from your area would go and get big and famous and footballers and whatever. It's very. I find it really weird, and there are definitely some occasions, especially at the beginning of my career, where I think I was a bit of a dick. I look back on certain things I did or said, and I'm like, oh God. So I'm not perfect. I've definitely had my moments, but I think I don't really have yes men around me. I don't really have any new friends. They're all like Zach here, who's taking photos. He's like, I went to school with him. I've got three other people on the tour that work with me that are from school. And
that's very hip hop.
Yeah, and my tour manager has done me from the very beginning. My manager's been with me since like 2009. Like everyone was there so you can't really get away with stuff. I think if I was having a new team every other year, I think I probably would turn into a dick, because I'd be like, I want this and I want it now, and then it would happen. But if I say that now, they'll be like, no. So yeah, I think it's, and I'm very close with my family, very, very close. As I said, my parents are out here, and my brother's a very no bullshit kind of guy as well. So yeah, I think early on I got called up on it a lot, and then I think it settles you down a bit.
Surrounding yourself with the right people and the right team, I think, is key to success.
Well, and also I think success, if you're truly having success, you don't have to act like that. If it's like all the nicest people I've ever met were the most successful. Like someone like Paul McCartney is just a really, really lovely bloke, and you can see people at the top. I think when people turn into dicks, it comes out of insecurity, and the insecurity comes from wondering whether you deserve to be there, and then you kind of like try to put people down to keep your mind like, oh no, I am actually, and yeah. So I think it's just being sure that if you work hard and you be nice, you'll get somewhere.
The world's going through quite a crazy part of its evolution in terms of there's lots of change. We were talking earlier on about AI and robotics and the way people are changing, and there's a lot of struggle still going on. Are you open to that? Do you perceive that? You think about that, or do you sort of exist in your own space? And do you feel that, because your music is very honest and talks to people in a very honest way, and is it something that you consciously do, or is that just who you are and how it comes out?
I think with music, it's just how I'm feeling that day. But in terms of like being aware of stuff, like I don't know, because it's quite easy to be in a bubble. I did a tour for the Multiply tour, which was my second album, and I just spent the whole time in a hotel room, and I didn't really like read the news or anything, and just for like 2 years of my life, played a show, went out and got drunk, went to bed, played a show, and like I came off that tour like I hadn't really seen any of the world. I wasn't really aware of anything that was going on, and so on this tour and between I spent some time traveling. I tried to actually get out and see things. See, you know, being able to come here and do a talk and actually meet people rather than just staying in a hotel and watching movies and stuff. I think it's good to get out and experience the world.
You know, we have obviously a very complex history, and what amazed me was, you know, as much as music can unite us as people, it can also divide and polarize us. And there's a degree of polarization here through music. There are areas and pockets that unite, but also a lot of polarization. What blew me away was when you came on stage at Global Citizen, and it was pretty much, you know, in this country we often talk about black and white. It was pretty much a 99% black audience, and people went absolutely crazy. And it just reminded me, you know, with Bridges, we try to use music to facilitate, you know, those kind of breakovers. Do you have a crossover audience globally? How does that compare?
My crowds are like, it's weird because when I first started touring, when I said I was doing those kind of 200 capacity venues, it was all dudes. It was all like 19, 20-year-old dudes who just like beer and then when I got on the radio, it started being young girls, sort of like from like 14 to 20, and the dudes. And then as it got bigger and bigger, it sort of now at a show, I remember where was I playing in America, and there was this like elderly couple that must have been in their 80s on date night, and then there's like a dad with his like 4-year-old daughter on the shoulders. Like it's such a wide variety of people now. But I think music's one of these things. Music doesn't care about any, you know, class or race or anything. It's all, people can all enjoy the same thing. It's an amazing thing to play shows and see people from all walks of life, all forgetting about anything and just enjoying one thing together. You know, and they're all in the same boat because they're all standing together enjoying the same thing. And it's quite a, especially like when we toured America. America's going through, you know, quite a tough time at the moment in terms of like people not getting on, and you know, it's amazing to do those shows and see, even if it's just for 2 hours, everyone kind of forget about that and just watch one thing, you know.
Your rise and other people like Adele and who have really kind of stripped music back to the core, and it's all focused on really on songwriting and songs. There's obviously songwriters and stuff that have come out of the States and in different areas and genres, but there seems to have been this real surgence of the sound from the UK. And you know, if you often compare the UK and America is kind of big and loud, and and the UK is a bit more sort of reserved. Do you think that the culture of the UK has had an impact and influence on this sort of style and this honesty in the music coming out of the country?
I had a conversation about this the other day because I have a theory on this. Like, America's like, you know, 50 states, and they're all huge. Like, Texas is like 4 times the size of the UK. California is the size of the UK. So to find success there, you have to like really work really, really hard and go around. So success in America is basically, now it's a bit different with Spotify and YouTube and stuff, but back in the day it was basically who had the money to fund the artists to go around and promote. Whereas England, you've only really got 3 main radio stations, like really, and if you get on one of them, you can have success, and one of them is publicly funded, so they have to have all different types of music on it. You can't just have pop music, you have to have all different types. So that's why you would find One Direction on the same thing as like Wretch 3.2, and then Skrillex would be on there as well, and then Bring Me the Horizon, who are a rock band. So you can have a very diverse music taste in England because...
Except when you have 16 tracks on the charts,
yeah,
like you did.
yeah, no, except then. But yeah, I think in England, like for me to find success in England, my first song was a song without any drums about a prostitute. Like that's what the song was about. And I remember going to America and American radio being like, we can't play this, but because it was a hit in England, we had a little bargaining tool. We were like, oh, but it was sold this much in England, and then I think because the public radio was the first people to take that chance with me in England. Yeah, I think because in England it has to be diverse on the radio, it allows more things to break through.
variety.
You can have a band like Mumford and Sons. You know, when Mumford and Sons first came out, you can't imagine that being played on pop radio, but because it was given the chance by that English radio station, then suddenly it's a pop radio band, you know? So I think that's why English music has always been pretty interesting, because the people that break out are given the chance, basically.
It's a very different structure.
Yeah.
I'm going to open up for a few questions in a minute, but I just wanted to ask you about, we're obviously an education school. What are your opinions on music and education and the power for music to inspire and take young people who aren't necessarily excelling or interested in school and give them meaning in life and give them a direction?
Well, it's quite interesting because in England they've actually cut arts from education. There's like, it's like now it's just barely any money going into the arts now, and it's what the interesting thing I find is there's still this thing with any art, whether it be photography or music or filmmaking or being a radio DJ or painting, that it's this very archaic view on it, that it's just for people that will waste their time and you won't make any money doing it. And I remember when I was leaving school to go and play music, so many people went, oh, all right, okay.
Get a real job first.
Yeah. And what I don't understand is, like, it is a real job. Like, music is a massive fucking business. It's a billion dollar business. It's and I don't understand why in school especially they don't go, okay, like, you might not excel at science or maths, or you might not even be good at music. But if you're interested in music, you can get a job in music. You can go and work at a radio station, or go and work at a record label, or go and work in a recording studio. It's like, it's viewed as such a job that wasters would do. Whereas, like, all of the people that I work with make a living doing it. All of them. So I think it's changing people's view on it.
Cool. 2 more quick things. Do you have any rituals? Do you meditate? Do you make smoothies? Do you do backflips? Anything that you can tell us about that keep you so grounded?
God, well, I used to chain smoke. I don't know if that helps. But I gave that up. I don't know. I tried to exercise a lot. I was never a big exerciser. As I said, I would do a show and go out to a bar and then fall asleep in the hotel, and I just never exercise. And I think there's a lot to be said about clearing your mind and also being away from a screen. Even if you go on a run for half an hour, you just think rather than think. You actually think about things. So I think exercising is key for just having a clear mind.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And last thing, and this is not meant to come across as a question that you would answer from an arrogant perspective, but do you have in your mind, is there an Ed Sheeran legacy? 10, 20 years down the line, do you want to look back and is there something in your mind that you want to have created, a movement or?
Not personally, no. Like, I don't really care about me personally, because I'm like, I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and I'm enjoying playing. So there's a legacy in my head for me, and just like what I've done, for me. But in terms of like what I'd like to leave, like I got to spend some time with Shawn Mendes over the last few years, and the first thing he said to me was like, the first song I learned on the guitar was the A-Team, and he's now gone on to become this massive musician. And I love the fact that, I was inspired as a kid by Damien Rice. He's why I first started writing songs, and I know how much that did for me. And I think for legacy, every time I meet a kid that is like, I now write songs, that's for me is the best legacy to leave, I think. Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily, that's not kind of my legacy, because they could be inspired by me and someone else, or like maybe like one song that I've done. But I think even if in 50 years' time there's like 100 people who were like, I picked up a guitar because of him, like that's the legacy I'd like to leave.
Great. Yeah. Okay.